When I got up, I was thinking about where I was about a year ago, as I often do. Um, and I was thinking about the stress of medical school and how much stuff I have to study, like I usually am thinking about. And then I was thinking about the stress before I got accepted of getting in and the ridiculous ups and downs that I went through um, emotionally and mentally and like actually to get to this point. Specifically, what I was remembering were so many times throughout my gap year and the couple of years before when I was going through MCAT stuff, and I would talk to people about getting into medical school and how like stressful it was for me and how stressed out and I would get, and a lot of the time I would get the comment from more than one person. Sometimes people who were in very well respected positions compared to me, and they would say things like, well, medical school is really stressful, so be ready for that. And it was kind of almost implying that because the application process seemed almost unbearably stressful for me, that I would not be able to handle the stress of medical school, or since the MCAT seemed so unconquerable to me at a particular time, that I wouldn't be able to handle the rigor of medical school course material, and that all proved to be pretty much incorrect. Um, and over this time, I think a lot about like, yes, that was really hard, and this is really hard, but it's hard in different ways. And frankly, I would rather be here than back, not accepted yet. Still, because the stress of that uh, was a lot deeper, where this is like more of, I think, a superficial stress. If you were, there are definitely some deep moments, but now I have my classmates and my professors, and I have a very solid support system. I have people who are going through this with me, and that makes all the difference in the world. Whereas when you're applying to medical school, even though you may have friends who are in the same position, you're not really in it together in the same way you are when you're in medical school. Um, and it really is just you and the application process and trying to make yourself shine. And I was really lucky because I have a father who is a physician, and he would continually sit me down and tell me things like, very honestly, that like, I think that you would make a great doctor, and I think that this is a great profession for you, and I think we could use people like you in the field, and he would say things like that to me, and I think that really meant a lot, not just because he was my dad, but because he knew me and he lives the life of physician. But I know that not like, I sometimes think like, what if I didn't have that? What if, because there were there were even doctors that I talked to, who, when I would say, yeah, I've had a lot of stress this past year trying to get into medical school, and they would be like, yeah, well, medical school is a lot of stress. And I think those people, I try to assume that everybody I talk to has gone through a lot, but maybe they didn't when they themselves got into medical school, and it was quite an awakening for them. But I think for me and a lot of students who end up in medical school, their journey here um, was pretty difficult, and not that this journey is not difficult, but it's difficult in such a different way that it's just completely incomparable to the process of getting in. And now you have, like I said, like the support system that is different. And now, honestly, like I think because of that those hard patches and those ups and downs, I like am more, I am less easily knocked down. Also, real quick, I guess like one thing that I was also thinking about was how much uh, during that gap year and during my senior year of college, that I didn't want to let people know how like sad I would get, or like stressed or anxious, like I would give them like little clues that I was really stressed or anxious, but I would never actually show them, or I didn't like to break down in front of people or like talk to someone because of the way people treated me when I was well. And it's not like, and because they would say things like, oh, like, do you think you'll be able to handle medical school, or do you think you'll be able to do this? And like that made me feel like I had to hide what was happening in my brain because I didn't think I would have a support system, or I thought, like, what, no matter if someone is supportive to my face behind my back, they're going to think that I'm not good enough to be what I want to be, or they're going to create a stereotype in their head of me, of someone who's like anxious all the time. And like, that's just not true, because I didn't want them to simplify me. I wanted them to imagine me more complex than I was. And we all want that. And that's a troublesome thing, to think that the way we treat a person regularly could really affect whether or not they come to you for help. And that sucks when it's a person you might really care about. So be careful. I think like the moral that I'm trying to get to is that I am highly suspicious that no one really has the right to tell you what you're capable of except for you. So try not to tell other people what they may or may not be capable of, and try not to judge what someone is capable of.